Hello, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Squigs, reporting for the Poetry News. And for this advisory, we have a special guest to speak of the Planetarium Fest in Brussels. Please help me in welcoming Philip Meersman. How are you doing today?
Hi, hello. Yes, well, very well, fine. Thank you very much.
Philip, you are the curator for the Planetarium Poetry Fest in Brussels. Did you want to speak a little bit more about this Poetry Fest happening?
Well, the Brussels Planetarium Poetry Fest is a bit of a niche festival because we try to connect science and poetry in a planetarium, which is the biggest planetarium in Europe. There are 350 places. So there is, it's partly, it still has an old 80-plus-year-old projector with lamps in it. So the old lady, as we try to call her. But next to that, a completely new high-tech projection system with 6 different high-tech projectors where we can do a lot of very funny stuff with. And we ask our poets to choose work or to create work, especially for the planetarium, around a few topics that seem sometimes very faintly connected or very far away from each other. But when you sort of look at our human history and how we are living in the world and with the world itself, and how we treat our world, then you will immediately see some connections that are closer by, as we say.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here. The information on the Brussels Planetarium Poetry Fest. It says here the festival will actively strike up a dialogue regarding science, religion, immaterial heritage, decolonization, and as well as white masculinity. These are some of the topics I believe you were saying are interrelated in our modern world that should be spoken of. And how do you feel about like gathering different voices, which I know are from around the world, to speak of in this festival and the relevance of these topics, my friend?
They are as relevant as ever, even more relevant every day, because science, there are a lot of questions on science. And look at the whole pandemic at this moment that's happening. What is science? What is fiction? On religion, again, a topic that we see in worldwide wars, in terrorism, state terrorism, whatever. So there, again, how we treat each other, is one God better than different gods, or shouldn't we believe in anything anymore except for humankind, and so on and so forth. Immaterial heritage, for me personally, is mostly about oral histories and oral traditions. If we just this year, I think it was, there were 4 Aboriginal names for stars finally recognized within the international system of name giving from stars. You know, I mean, so the fact that there are people that original people like original the Aboriginals, Maori, but also Inuit and you name them, people that sort of have names for things that exist, but the white Western society during colonization as such have renamed everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, and put it in a book, and then said like, this book is true, and everything which is outside the book is not true. So that's a bit this link, which immediately goes on to decolonization, which is related to religion. If you look at, for instance, at a certain moment, you have the church that decided in Valladolid that original people from the Americas had a soul, and black people from Africa did not have a soul, so they could be slaves. So hence, slavery was accepted for people from Africa, but not for the original what then were called Indians. Some people still call them, but they are original people of the Abya-Yala continent, like the original people in Central America call the Americas. They call them Abya-Yala. So I try to keep that in mind and always talk about Abya-Yala and not about the Americas.
Interesting. Thank you. Just learned something new. It's these cultures are, I mean, as ancient as they are valid. They're people.
Yes.
And yes, colonization has unfortunately had the effect of producing a standard which reduces the validity of language outside of it.
Yeah.
And this is the
Abya-Yala.
Americas, or what we know as the Americas today.
As the Americas today, and which is, I think it's originally somewhere southern Mexico and sort of more like to what is that, Honduras and countries in the bottom Central American part, and then to Venezuela.
Somewhere right there, yeah.
Yeah.
Chile is there too. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes, back to the Planetarium Poetry Fest. I understand that these performances will be utilizing probably the most up-to-date of technology to produce these shows for each poet or a writer, author. You have quite a myriad of guests coming up from around the world. Did you want to speak about the guests you have chosen and how these artists, having these artists come and represent for the Planetarium Poetry Fest?
Yeah. Well, so as we said, we have some topics that we put forward. So they create work or they have work that's around that. I'm very proud to sort of say that I have seen every artist that has that comes to the festival. So I take pride in the fact that I try to be a quality standard. I find not as a person, but the fact is that I know the people that come and what they are capable of creating. So this we have an agreement with Poetry Africa, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, poetry festival on the African continent in Durban, South Africa. And every year we invite one South African artist via them. This year, sadly, so it's a tribute to a very young, an artist that died in December last year of a heart attack, way too young, Matete Motsoaledi. With him, I worked on different things, and we were allowed by his family and his next of kin to continue working with the material that was there. So we have somebody from South Africa this year. So we made a special part of the show dedicated to him. We have from Poland, we have Weronika Lewandowska. Then we have Narcis. We have Buddy, one of the new talents. And then we have from Catalonia in Spain, we have Edouard Escoffet. And then we have a few Belgian poets, also Dutch and French speaking. Maud van Houwaard, who was a city poet of Antwerp for a few years, who has won a lot of prizes. And then we have also Jan Duchesne, a Brussels poet, with his group Noodzakelijk Kwaad, who created a set specially for Poetry Fest with his group. And we also always have an open call, because yes, the people that we invite are really people that I have seen, but I mean, I've seen them in different festivals where I have participated, but I can't see everything. So that's why we always have an open call from which we choose two artists that can come and represent also a set.
Is this open call currently still open?
No, that's not. So we will launch a new call for the next edition.
Perhaps next year.
Yeah, for next year, and that's in principle we focus there specifically onto Belgium or poets living in Belgium or in Brussels. And people that we haven't seen, that I haven't seen yet, and that makes me, not me, because there is a jury of different partners. There are 6-7 partners that are reviewing everything which is sent. So we ask people to send in a work specifically for with this brief and with the fact that it needs to come into the planetarium. And people know that they will be performing in the dark. So their performance as such will be live voice, and they are present because you feel and you see also the presence of the poet or the poetess. But take into account that you're in a dome, and on the dome there is projected a projection which is in relation with what you are saying, what you are performing.
Beautiful.
And that can go sometimes very wide. If we go back to colonization and decolonization, for instance, we had Lisette Manesa at a certain moment with a poetess, a Dutch poetess who lived in Brussels for a while, and she became Belgian champion slam. And she did a performance which was really about colonizing and her motherland in Rwanda, and the fact that she wanted to go there. And in the planetarium, the projection as such was of one of the landing crafts that was doing, so the trajectory that was done from Earth to Mars to prepare the landing of the Mars rover. We are going to colonize Mars.
What an incredible statement.
So in that sense, we go even in that way. So that there are the layers there are also within the science. We show the fact that this rover. We are not telling this to people. We don't provide subtitling for nothing. Whatever language people speak, we don't provide subtitling. It's really an immersive experience. So sometimes people, when they come out, they have something like, what just happened?
It sounds like a very incredibly unique experience, actually. And the bios for which for the artists for which you mentioned are on the website.
Yep.
That is www.Brussels Planetarium Poetry Fest as well. I did want to talk that you had mentioned that in the future you are testing out some new VR technology, and yes. So what does this mean for the future of the Brussels Planetarium Poetry Fest?
With COVID, we needed to reinvent ourselves at a certain moment. So we were lucky last year. We were just in this valley of numbers, so that we could do something in the end. But we did a Belgian edition, so we didn't invite international guests because we prefer also all the guests to be live present. And because it really is a very intimate type of concert, let us say, performance. But for the VR, we noticed that since the older versions of Poetry Fest, and we have been all over Brussels, it was much more open. We went onto the streets. We wrote in shopping streets and shopping malls, or in hospitals. We wrote poems for newly born kids, for the patients, for the doctors. We have done that in shopping streets where people could come and ask poets. So now we are in one place. We found that this is the niche that we have, and which is special for us. But we want to share this also. And with new technology, like the dome is like, it's very comparable with VR technology. The fact is, with the VR technology, if you have VR glasses on, you have an individual perspective of a world 360 degrees around in all sides. Mm-hmm. If you are in the dome, you sit in a chair, and you have a controlled, collective, immersive experience from a half bowl, let us say. So in a VR, you are in a full bowl, as such, a full circle, but then in the dome you are half, because you have the half from before.
The horizon.
Yeah, yes. You have the horizon, the top of the horizon. In VR experience, you also have the bottom, in principle. And we thought that we want to experiment with the fact if we would we know that we can put the videos that we make. So we record the audio and we put it together with the video that we have created. And we are putting it in a VR format. So in principle, you would be able to have a collective but individualized immersive experience of sitting in the dome, because you have the same type of thing. You don't have the bottom, you still, but you have the horizon. And we want to test it and see if this would give also a good experience for as a show experience as such.
But this is such an incredible project that moving forward with in the future, and be excited. I'm excited to see how this VR project translates in the future for these performances. So there's the website, which is www.poetryfest.brussels as well. Follow you on Instagram, and I believe you also have the poetryfest.brussels on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes, the tickets are available on the website, correct?
Yes, but that's for the live event. For the virtual reality, we are waiting because we saw that there was some people that were not sure if they bought for the virtual reality or the live event. Yes. So we are going for the virtual reality. We are going later on. But everybody who's in Brussels, there are still a few places. So please.
Yes, the festival will be occurring on the 10th and 11th of September. That's a Friday and Saturday. And it says here doors open at 7 p.m., correct? And you have an introduction as well to start off the festival?
Yeah, it's a one-go show in the sense like we introduce all the guests at the beginning of the show.
Okay.
Then it's a one-go show. It's just under 2 hours. Okay. It's a one go. It's in one go, and then in the end the doors go open, and then people are free to leave.
So it's one go, 2 hours, but this is each evening or each day.
Yeah, it's two times the same show, and we can put more effort in the shows also that we produce. Because for every artist there is a new creation made, or the artist makes their creation themselves.
So everyone, please follow poetryfest.brussels on Instagram as well as Facebook, and the website, once again, that is www.poetryfest.brussels. So thank you very much, Philip, for your time. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Thank you for this opportunity, and I thank everybody for joining in from wherever they are and whatever time frame in the world. And I hope to see you or in Brussels or in virtual reality. And thank you for the opportunity to share our festival with the world.
Thank you very much, Philip. So this has been the news advisory for the Poetry News. I'm Squigs, everyone, and thank you, Philip. Have a good evening.